Hey everybody, welcome to Sound Bombing. I created this show for people who want to experience a radical, life-changing journey through the sounds of my diverse guests. I hope that each sound you hear on this show will strengthen your faith, encourage your dreams, and challenge you to awaken the greatness within you.
Drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We come to drop the bomb. Drop the bomb.
This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new values, and a new experience.
Lamar Darnell Shields.
Morning, good evening, good afternoon, good day to you, wherever you're listening to us. This is your man, Dr. Lamar Darnell Shields. You know, I'm always excited that you decided to join me in the bomb shelter for another amazing show. Not because I do anything amazing. I think I'm okay. But I think that you're here because you heard we have some of the dopest, some of the most amazing guests that come onto the show. We have people that come all the way from Australia, Europe, Africa, Asia, the United States. And so I'm excited that you decided to be here. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you all for sharing us with all of your listeners. I told you every day, stop being stingy. Share us with your friends. We're on every platform. And if you are new to the bomb shelter, welcome. If you are old to the bomb shelter, you know what time it is. Before we start our show, we start our show with our 3 breaths, because our 3 breaths gives us the foundation. They allow us to know that we're here. So for my new people, what I want you to do is I want you to sit back, relax, put your feet on the floor. Now, of course, if you're driving, you can't do this. We don't want you to have an accident. But if you're in a safe place, I want you to put your feet on the floor. But if you are driving, just pull off to the side and then pull over, turn your car off, put your feet on the floor, palms facing up. We're going to do our 3 breaths. So here we go. Inhale. Hold it for 3 seconds. Exhale. 2 more times. Inhale. Hold it for 3 seconds. Exhale. This time we're going to go much deeper. We're going to go inhale, inhale. Hold it for 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, let it out. And bombers, what do we call that? We call that the breath of life. And we always start out our show with that because we're laying the foundation. You don't know what type of energy I'm bringing. I don't know what type of energy you bringing, especially in the state of COVID. Not saying I can get COVID virtually, but the reality is we want to bring some good energy and some good vibe to the space. And what the 3 breaths says, it says that you are here. Somebody didn't wake up today. So that breath of life said that you are here. And I am happy that you here. So let's get this party started. Last week, we had an amazing guest, Bill Bice. He dropped the bomb on us, gave us some great information. Today is no different. And you know, typically I always do what? After the breath, I've always started with the question. So here we go. We've all heard that diet and exercise are important. But do we really know and appreciate why this is the case? You all know every morning I talk about my routines. I say when you win the morning, you win the day. But the implications of our food go far beyond the 4 food groups that they talk about. And some of these 4 food groups are so old. You know, we need to sort of shift that. You all know that I'm a vegan. You all know that I'm always talking about keeping your hands clean during COVID and building your immune system. You all know my hashtag is meat free since 1993. But to add to the modern society, it has made getting healthy harder than ever. But with all of these new shows and all of these restaurants and stores, it's not that difficult to find healthy whole foods. I know people are always talking about, well, I'm too busy trying to balance work, family, and life responsibility. Well, let me tell you what you want to balance. You want to balance your health, because health is wealth. And I'm always talking about, I don't food shame individuals. Well, I used to do that back in the day when I first became a vegan, but I don't do it now. But as a result, health goals are often put on hold. But today we're going to provide you with some strategies, because I'm tired of people saying it is so difficult. But if you look at my next guest who's standing there, you know he's just not out on the playground hanging out with his kids. All right, who am I talking about? Our next guest is Victor Ferguson. He's recognized as a person who's dealing with health issues all across the country, talking about health issues, not saying that he has health issues, but he has a growing concern with obesity, chronic illness in our society. So he created a company that focuses on that. He is the founder of Optimal Wealth Community. This is an organization, wellness community. This is an organization that seeks to increase the health and wellness of people through educating and establishing communities to foster critical thinking about healthy decision making. They host restorative health success sessions where they educate and exchange information about fitness, about health, and about wellness. He is a skilled management and employee wellness, social media and training expert and motivational speaker. But what makes it so much better than that? That Victor Ferguson today is joining me. Well, he's not physically joining me because the brother's out there getting his workout on. He is joining me in the bomb shelter. Victor, good morning, man. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Appreciate the welcome, brother. I'm well, blessed and highly favored.
Well, I always like my guests to let people know where they're calling in from. Where are you right now?
I'm calling from Baltimore.
Baltimore in the building.
Yeah,
okay.
Baltimore.
And so let's talk about the background. Where are you right now, man? So he knew he was coming on the show. So we're going to talk about health and wellness. So the brother didn't want to be sleeping in his bed. He didn't want to be driving in his car. He wanted to show you all what he's actually like. Even if he don't do it, he's going to pretend like he's doing it with the weights behind him. But Victor is really doing it. I just want to be real clear. He just doesn't have a backdrop like I do. Victor, let us know who you are, man.
Yeah. So I don't believe that. I believe that health is a real priority, and I don't think that you being healthy is ever an inconvenience. So this is me being healthy and making it a priority to not be inconvenient. So I definitely think that that should be a high priority because what is wealth without health? What is being having a well-knit family without your health? Like you be taking care of your family so much, then all of a sudden something happens to your health and they're taking care of you, and then you becoming, burdensome.
Yes.
So I think that private health is so necessary. So I decided to, here I am at it's a playground / workout spot. So there's a park right here, and then there's, sometimes I go to like different little kids playgrounds and do like pull-ups or whatnot, or calisthenics, but just kind of making the best out of my environment is what I do with my workouts.
And what you're doing is, even though you don't know this, and I'm sure you do, without having talking to people to life, not to death, because we say we talk people to death. People are observing you. The young people, their parents, they're inspired. They're watching you. They're watching you work out. Without having to say, "Hey, this is what I'm doing." They see you in this routine every day. What is it about health that interests you so much? Talk to me about your history as a young child or as a teen or as a young 20-something. Did you get interested in health? Did something happen to you in your life that really inspired you to become healthy? One of the reasons with me when I became a vegan, because as a kid, Victor, I was always sick. I remember in the 8th grade, man, this is funny. A couple of girls, I remember Sharice and Tiana Daniels. When you're a kid, you got to say their entire name, right? I remember they came up to me and they was like, Lamar, do you have some type of illness or disease? Because we always notice that you get headaches and you have to, that's my horrible voice, imitate these two girls. Shout out to Sharice and Tiana, who I still talk to. But they asked me that, but I was a sickly kid, man. I was always in a hospital. I had stomach issues. I was always getting headaches. I was allergic to everything. So because of that, my mom was on it, man. Shout out to Aline Shields and from Chicago, my mother, who got me early, man, before, all of this, these stores were opening up, and she changed our diet and our family. And because of that, amazing. I've been on a health kick, not a health kick, fitness lifestyle change, because it is a lifestyle. What about you, man? What encouraged you, inspired you to do this?
Oh, man. So I lived in Germany when I was from the ages of 2 to 6. And I don't know if anybody knows about the weather in Germany, but it's very flippant. It can be like 30 degrees one moment, and then the next moment it's like 50, 60, and then reverse. So I grew up with asthma too. Since I was 2 years old, I had asthma. but I had a lot of trips to the emergency room, a lot of trips. So it was very similar of a story. By the time I left Germany to come to the States, to Augusta, Georgia, I had a record that was like this thick, of different medical instances. My mom tells me to this day, one time when I was like 5 or 6, the doctor was about to give me a medication. And I'm like, no, that's not the right one. You're supposed to give me.
You were the expert.
You're supposed to give me, exactly. I was a young expert. So she always tells me that story. But yeah, so I grew up sickly the same. And, as I got older, I still continue some of the same habits. Like I was big into like cereal and milk. But then when I was in college, I definitely started to eat a little bit better. And I started to get closer with the Hebrew Israelites. I was in Atlanta, Georgia at Morehouse. And
hold on, man. Shout out to the Hebrew Israelites. I grew up with them in Chicago. Soul Vegetarian. Best restaurant. Show, what you know about Soul Veg, man?
There's one down in Atlanta. There's exactly. There's one, there's a Soul Veg in Atlanta.
I met Speech from Arrested Development, who's from Wisconsin. I'm from Chicago.
Oh, nice.
In Soul Vegetarian, when I was in Atlanta, I dated the Spelman girl back in the day. I wanted to go to Morehouse to live with you, brother. But I didn't have the grades or the bank account. And my mother was like, but shout out to Grambling State University. I went to HBCU. But Soul Vegetarian, I love Soul Vegetarian in Chicago when I changed my diet. I remember going in there, man, and of course, as a kid, I was like, man, these folks weird. They doing this, they doing that. But man, I just shared a story with a friend of mine. I want you to get back to yours. A friend of mine, I said, if it wasn't for Soul Vegetarian, the Hebrew Israelites, we talking in the late 80s, early 90s, I would not have had stores or restaurants to go to. The juice bar, the natural foods.
They had it. They've been on it.
For those that don't know, Soul Vegetarian in Atlanta, Chicago, there's one in Maryland near the DC area. Or people have, if you look at some of the food, you can see the Soul Vegetarian influence in many of the African-American owned restaurants that are making soul food. But go ahead, brother.
It's actually Everlasting Life in Maryland.
Everlasting Life. There we go.
Everlasting Life. But yeah,
Dr. Baruch. We know the same
Dr.
people,
Baruch,
man.
Dr.
My
Baruch.
man, Dr. Baruch.
My man. Yeah, that's my man's too. I actually had one of my restorative health sessions at Everlasting Life.
Dr. Baruch has been on the fight for years. The truth. And I told him I want to look like you when I'm 20 years old, man.
He ain't no joke. He ain't no joke. No joke at all. He look like you don't want to mess with him. He's like 65, 70.
And I'm glad you said, because when you talk about vegan, or even if you're not a vegan, you talk about eating healthy, you think, people have to have long locks. They have to eat tofu all the day. They have to smoke herb all the day. All these different things. They can't work. They can't participate in track and field events, football events. They can't do all these other things. But you can with the healthy diet. So you shifted yours growing up, going to school in Atlanta,
you really
Morehouse.
You really can. But so I ended up, when I was 21, I ended up going to Israel. I went to Israel with the Hebrew Israelites. My speech teacher was a Hebrew Israelite, and I showed interest in Dimona, which was where they had relocated to from Chicago, and started their own community.
So you weren't there with Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown, right?
I was not, but I heard that story, and everybody was telling. I think I probably came like 2 years after then, and everybody was like, "Oh."
For folks that don't know, Bobby Brown, Whitney Houston, we ain't got time to y'all Google this. They went to Israel with Hebrew Israelites. Keep it. You can see I know my stuff, right?
Yeah, big time, big time. You're on the path. You know what I'm saying? A lot of intersections, so it's cool. But yeah, so I went there, and the whole community is vegan, right? And when I tell you, these were the most like well-mannered kids and just super sharp, and everybody was like very clear in their gifts, Even if somebody, wasn't the brightest, they could sing real well, or they had, they could cook well, what I'm saying? But everybody had like their own manifested gifts. And I was like, this is amazing, and I just had such great experiences that were just life-changing there. And it was crazy. This one time, and this kind of side effect, but a little bit, kind of in it also. But when we were walking through Jerusalem, because we visited like all over, floated in the Dead Sea.
Hold up, that's so funny. Listen to you, man.
Man,
Some people I was walking through California, I was in Miami. This dude was saying, while I was walking through Jerusalem.
Well, I was walking through
that sounds like a lot. Like you about to recite a poem or spit some bars,
that's
man.
So funny. What's actually funny about that is actually when we were doing it, I made up a freestyle walking through the streets of Jerusalem.
I mean, how many people can say they walk through the streets and that? I love it, man. I love it.
So yeah, we were walking through the streets of Jerusalem, and this Caucasian lady walks up to us, and she's so excited. She's like, oh, "You guys must be the Hebrew Israelites, the chosen people of God." I'm like, "You knew this? You knew this? Wow. Your sisters know this?" You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, wow. What kind of crazy path am I on? So it was just something to have been proclaimed to be that externally, and this righteous way of living, as far as being vegan and eating live food and thinking live thoughts, and just kind of changing our whole paradigm, because we're not trying to be on diets. Yes. I'm not trying to do anything with death. I am, you know what I'm saying? Like that's not where I'm headed. I am an eternal being that is always propagating life, and everything, the things I speak and what I eat, what I listen to. So I'm all about life.
And this is so funny.
I vibe at that frequency of that.
Man, Victor, I just pulled out one of the first soul vegetarian cookbook. There's a sister who's on the cover of it, an African girl. I wish I had time to grab it, but I'm in the studio. It's interesting. I just pulled it out
her name?
Because we were just talking about tofu tidbits and just making some different foods and all of that.
Yeah.
So tell me, so we talked about your childhood, and your childhood was very similar to mine, very, you had a lot of health challenges. So what motivated you to start Optimal Wellness Community and share with us what it is? I know you all just had a seminar about wellness during the quarantine. I want to talk about that shortly. But what motivated you to start Optimal Wellness Community?
So, and this is actually a part of the continuum of why I got into what I got into. So my mom actually began getting sickly when I was about 10 years old. 10 years old, she had her first heart attack. She ended up having in total 4 heart attacks.
Wow.
Right. And it was it was rooted in some psychological effects from her childhood, and also in just like a toxic attachment to the church. Where, she would just kind of like give her all and wouldn't be appreciated or acknowledged. And that would just cause a lot of just inner conflict with her. And just, she's one of those that her psychology was do extremely well so that she can be recognized, and she has to just overachieve for recognition, so that was, some things with her mother and, just the way she was raised, which was a positive driving force to a certain extent. But then at a certain point, it became very toxic for her. And her body became started taking a toll because of it. Because you can't keep your body in a cortisol, stress-filled mindset, or else your blood vessels are gonna continue to constrict, and your brain's gonna be foggy after a certain time. Your heart's gonna beat too fast because it's in fight or flight mode. So anyway, she ended up having those 4 heart attacks, and I realized how much the community she was a part of, as far as the church, wasn't really fostering her health and wellness. 2, if she was in a community like that, then it would be that much easier for her to make a smooth transition into a healthy lifestyle. And 3, just being around people that had a more congruent, positive, down to earth mindset when it comes to wellness, so just people that are, speaking positive, people that are, always have good things to say and are have a certain element of emotional intelligence, and people that can foster her well-being. So I was like, what, let me start this organization. And that was like to help evolve the organization. But another part that had me started was I had a juice business when I was in Maryland that I came on to, and we had a store where we sold products as well. And I was like, in order to kind of sell products, we should also educate people on the products that we sell, because a lot of people don't know things we're selling. So I'm like, let me build a community to where I can educate people, or have classes just where I can educate people. And I ended up not starting it when I was with the Juice Barge, because we kind of had, separate beliefs. And he didn't believe in the value of community, and I was the exact opposite. Like, I found out how passionate I was about community when he said something averse to community. So that was kind of like the birth of it, and the evolution, a heavy, kinetic momentum was from, really reflecting on my mom in the childhood. And that got me into, thinking about how I could use different already established communities to help build deliberate communities focused on wellness.
You bring up a real good point. And I know we look at the Black church, and for those who aren't familiar with the Black church has always been at the core of movements, spiritual growth, but it's also been a part of death. When you talk about diet, when you think about being at these churches, and you can hear the preacher and the choir, but then also you're smelling that food coming from downstairs, that chicken and
downstairs.
And I went to a great, I grew up Catholic school, but grew up in the Nation of Islam, and then also have all these other spiritual beliefs that my mom shared with me at a very young age. So I went to a very African-centered church, but even where I attended, I remember smelling the food and going downstairs and listening to the teachers talk about spiritual growth, but then they were giving folks death in the room, in the fellowship hall. And I really struggle with that. So to hear you talk about your mom she was probably getting that spiritual food, but the churches have, and not all of them, but many of them, we call it soul food, but it was slave food. It was that our ancestors were some of the most amazing people. They took the worst of the worst and made something, but they knew where their food came from. Because I always had to share this with people when they talk about, well, you didn't pig and all that, but our ancestors knew where the pigs, the hogs, the chickens, they didn't pump them up with all this stuff, but they still made the best. So no disrespect to our ancestors who did what they could. And not all of our ancestors, not all of our ancestors ate meat. We know that as well. There's a lot of research in there. And so again, the church has also been responsible for those. I remember one of my Brother Bay, who transitioned. Brother Bay was in DC. Brother Bay, everybody who was conscious when it came to food, Erykah Badu, Common, all of them came to Brother Bay's restaurant. I remember a buddy of mine used to sell pizza. He worked for Domino's. He would say this, brother, you still selling them snot pies?
Snot pies.
Because, he called them snot pies because mucus. And it was the funniest thing.
Yeah. That's
trying to make a living. Brother Bay, I'm just trying to make a living. But I want to go back to something that you said about your mother, because we're talking about challenges. And we know in the Black community, in the Black and brown community, the communities that we represent, Black and Latino, and those communities where health has been an issue because of not having access to things. And we know it's really hitting us because of the quarantine and all of that. What's been the biggest challenge in helping people to restore their health, regardless of race, culture, gender, or what have you? What's been the biggest challenge in helping them to restore their health?
I think just being able to know how to cook healthier. I think cooking healthier is a big deal. So what I do, and I feel like I'm giving a little bit of sauce right now, but I don't care, because this is something that can help everybody. And even though I'm about to be nation worldwide or whatever with my program, speaking that into existence.
Yes.
But what I try to do is I do a plant-based potluck. People have a card where they write down the ingredients, what it is that they put into it, so they can help diversify what it means to eat plant-based. Because you can make everything from like tasty walnut tacos to cauliflower, Korean barbecue cauliflower to, the ranges. Man, I had this girl make me he made some like a lentil, plantain, chickpea lasagna the other week, right? And it was so good and such a freestyle. I was like, oh my goddess.
Well, I just had an event recently and invited some folks. I love like vegan. non-vegans will eat anything. That's what's funny.
Yeah.
They'll be like, you don't tell them what it is though. Once you like I remember when I was teaching high school, this woman, Miss Boyles, shout out to Miss Boyles, love Miss Boyles, just in case she's listened to the show. And I was dating this sister years and years ago who's from Liberia, and she made eggplant. Now, when I grew up, the eggplant that I had was a breaded eggplant, and I took the eggplant to Miss Boyles. She's like our parents' age. She's like, oh, Shields, I don't like eggplants, that, the other. So I'm eating the food. I said, Miss Boyles, I just want you to try this food. It's really, really good. Didn't give it a name to it. Man, she's killing it, Victor. Destroying it all killing it. I said, Miss Boyles, what'd you think? Oh man, this was good. I said, glad you said it. That was eggplant. It was okay. I'm like, Miss Boyles, eggplant was the beast. That eggplant was the truth.
Come on.
So don't play it. But in her mind, because it is a mindset. If you don't
association. Exactly.
And go back to Brother Bay in DC, and people that are from the Maryland area. Dr. Farouk will tell you he would go to Brother Bay's spot. Brother Bay, when you would go into his restaurant, you would ask him what it is. He said it's good food. He never gave it a label.
It's good food.
Brother Bay, this is good food. This is good food. Did you stop asking him what it was because you knew it was good and it was good for you? But I know it can be challenging. Getting people to restore their health, even what also is interesting to me is the most unhealthy people try to give healthy people advice. Does that ever happen to you? I just talked to a brother a couple of days ago who is fitness and wellness is about it's not his business, but it's who he is as an individual. But it's a part of who he is. And he was like, man, people that are unhealthy always want to give me advice. But then when it's flu season, when it's all this other stuff, they're like, so what was that stuff you were taking? Was it golden
oregano oil? Right.
What was that?
Come on.
And I don't shame them because I don't want to do that, because I don't want to turn them off. Now, back in the day, I would do that.
People are what they are, and we have to accept that. I think and I want to make this point also in community, when you have like 90% of the community like eating healthy or doing the right thing, it becomes a norm. So it's like, all these 90 people are eating vegan and their skin is popping. They have a lot of energy. They're not sick. So it's like, it helps change that groupthink paradigm, to a more positive mindset.
It's funny you say that because my energy is always high. And one of my girls who's a breath instructor who's one of my yoga instructors, a personal yoga instructor. She found that I was taking maca, maca, not matcha, maca. She said, hold up. She said, first of all, that's why she said, you don't even need anything to build your energy. You always are on 10 and 5. She said, you taking maca? I was like, restore a certain thing. And I was explaining to her, but she knew what it was, but she found it funny for somebody like me who's always on 10. And she's like, you don't need any, you're going to go out on the edge because your energy is always high. What are some of the misnomers, misperceptions about a healthy diet? Let's say a healthy, optimal diet, because I don't want people to think that I'm pushing veganism or paleo or anything like that. We're talking about optimal. What are some of the misnomers or myths about living an optimal, healthy, well life?
What are some of the misnomers about living an optimal?
People think that they because of this and because of that, I read this, I read that.
Well, I think one is, you don't necessarily have to be vegan per se, but I do think with optimal wellness, you have to take into account the balance, your acidity. I think that has a heavy effect on the way your mind works and the way your blood goes through your body. So I think if you do decide to divulge in partaking in death, like you should, you can balance it out with like alkalinity, making sure you eat alkaline fruits and vegetables and even alkaline water.
Share with us. We know about alkaline water. Could you share with our listeners some of the fruits and vegetables that are very high in alkaline content? Some things that you take.
Some things. Grapefruit. Let's see. What else? Lemon. And it's strange because I know it's very acidic, but what it does in its acidity, it makes your body create a alkaline environment to neutralize it. So it makes your body neutralize, so it neutralizes your body when dealing with the acidity. So those are a couple I can think of like right offhand. I think like watercress is a good one as far as vegetable. Yeah, those are what I got off.
What are some of your go-to wellness things that you typically take, as a routine? Some things that you're constantly putting in your body on a daily basis. Like I'll share one of mine. Like typically, it depends on how I'm feeling. I'll definitely, I'm a smoothie king and a juicer.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying going to Smoothie King. Sometimes I do go to Smoothie King. Smoothie King is not one of the sponsors of the show, so we're not shouting them out. But when I say Smoothie King, I make smoothies. Or in my smoothies, I typically do like maybe a rice milk or soy milk. Some people against soy milk. Blueberries, strawberries. I'm always adding. I'll do like a protein powder. If I don't do a protein powder, I add spirulina. Get that greeny spirulina. Is very, very nutritious in there. Or if I don't do a smoothie, sometimes I'll do a wheatgrass. I don't pump the wheatgrass anymore, but I'll add a little in my water to get that alkaline content, which is really, really in there. What are some of and then what I'm so proud of, and I'm going to go live this week about it. So I actually, in my house, of course, because I want to talk about what you've been doing since the quarantine and some things you can provide. So I had these CDs, and because my grandkids are gonna be like, Baba, what's a CD? So I had the CD cases on my wall with these shelves. So I decided to take them down, and this is why it's important having your children involved in your lifestyle. So I took the CDs off the shelf, and in each shelf, the compartment, I can get two mason jars. Like I can't think of the size, but small mason jars. And so I decided that I want to have all the medicinal and my herbs there. So what I did was I was doing all this research to decide what are some things that I typically need for my body and other people. So I gave my 16-year-old daughter a task. I said, all right, I'm going to print out these labels. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you these bags of loose herbs and medicinals, and I want you to fill them up. And I'm going to, on the label, it's going to explain what each one is. So my daughter, Samira Adama, let me tell you, I asked my daughter this. This is why this is a lifestyle that is very important, not just for me, but for the people around me. And if Victor, when you visit my home, you're going to see those there. So you're also learning and probably then teaching me and say, Brother Shields, you have this, but you don't have that. So my daughter, I said, what are some things that you discovered from just doing, I paid her for doing this task. She says, Baba, calls me Baba, which is father in Swahili. She said, Baba, She says, I didn't realize that there's so many natural things that I can take. Like when she's having menstrual cramps, there's this peppermint tea or the chamomile. Like she knew some of these things, but the loose teas and herbs I think are much better. And she says, wow, I didn't know this. So what are some things that are a requirement for you basically on a day-to-day basis that you put into your body?
On a day-to-day basis, I do like to do the spirulina. I do the spirulina with my smoothies. I kind of like a week ago, I kind of ran out of oat milk. I use oat milk in my smoothie, but I, and then when I got like some milk 3 days later, I ended up just eating cereal, and I kind of got off my smoothie routine. But sometimes, like I do a lot of switching up, and I do a lot of experimenting also. Like right now, I've been big on oregano oil. Oregano oil is good for it's an antiviral. And it's extremely potent. I mean, you have like a whole liter, you do one drop, and this is that's it. That's all you need. And
so what do you put yours in? You put it in water? You put it in a drink?
I put mine in water. Mm-hmm. And I was recently on a sea moss kick as well. And sea moss is very, very good. It has like 92% of the trace minerals that your body needs, which is, just helps your body operate properly. And helps, keep you at a level of optimal wellness.
Yeah, I see a lot of people are doing more. I've been doing CMOS for like 10 years, and I love it because, again, one of my teachers was a student of Dr. Sabi, who I knew years and years ago. But what's interesting, I want to remind people, always check with your health practitioners, because, again, I always tell people, everything in a health food store ain't healthy for you. You have to know your body. I know people are jumping on the CMOS kick, and they're jumping on this. You got to know your body type. Just because your neighbor down the street or your cousin, somebody called you and they said this, you want to know, right? You want to know your body type. You want to know what your body will receive and what it will also reject. The thing about my body as a young kid, Victor, my teacher, Tabidi, would tell me, he said, what's interesting about your body, brother, is that as soon as you take something and your body to reject, mine is immediate. That's when I knew I had to give up chicken. My buddy was retelling the story. My buddy was retelling the story when I gave up chicken in college. He said, I remember we were eating some chicken and Darnell's mouth started to water, And he's like, I was like, man, I'm about to throw up. And I threw up. And he says, ever since then, you stopped. That's how my body is. Some people, it may take a couple of days.
I'm the same way.
But mine, it can be, I could do little oregano oil. I could do spirulina. I could do, like I discovered, it was a season where avocados was not working with my body. And I had to stop.
That happen to me too. I had that happen to me too. It was making me sick. Like I've had a couple avocados sometime and I've been like, not here. I don't know if it's, I don't know, GMO, so I don't know what.
It could have come from somewhere. So I know we're in a pandemic. There's a pandemic that's taking over internationally. And I know you just had a seminar about wellness during quarantine. What are some things that our listeners, my listeners, should be mindful of during this quarantine? Like I said, one of the things I've been doing is I've been reading more about health and wellness, creating my shelf with my stuff there so I can sort of grab it and then keep it moving. What are some things that we should be doing? Some practical things that we should be doing right now during this quarantine.
I'm a big rhythm person. I read this book, and I always tell people to get this book just because it's amazing, called "Outwitting the Devil," or pull it up on YouTube. "Outwitting the Devil" by Napoleon Hill.
Great.
But he talks about So he talks about rhythmic patterns, and I think just really like being able to make sure your rhythm and your routine, the fact that a lot of us have time to be at home, we can get in a lot more healthier patterns. So, if you want to go ahead and infuse meditation into your day, you'll definitely see a great improvement and a decrease in your stress level, mental clarity, just calmness, overall calmness. And also, of course, being able to making sure we move. I think moving is important, and also going outside and getting some fresh air. If nobody's around you, take your mask off and get some fresh air in your body. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's be critical thinkers. They said there's a max of 6 feet. And mind you, there was thousands of people all across the world that were out marching, during the George Floyd situation. And there wasn't proportional amounts of sickness based
Isn't that
upon
interesting?
that happening.
But like the parties in Florida, the parties in Los Angeles, folks getting sick. But
in little small pockets, right?
And I was one of the people marching before, but I had my mask on, had my kids near me with their mask on. But again, you didn't hear an outbreak about that, which was not reported, right?
No, strange, interesting.
Yeah,
these little pockets, people are getting sick instead of these big massive, these big unplanned gatherings. Man. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, let's be practical with it and let's critically think. Your body needs fresh oxygen. All your cells need oxygen to be able to renew and to properly metabolize. So making sure we get good oxygen and we're doing healthy patterns, I think is very good. And sleeping, I think sleep is very I think just the westernized way of living, we often don't sleep as much as we should. So I think, just really making sure we once again, we reinforce healthy patterns, get your sleeping right, get your breathing right, get your eating right, kind of set yourself up to be healthier, maybe get in a situation where you're cooking on Sundays and you're doing meal prep, you're eating till Wednesday or something, then, rehashing. And I'm saying this, but I'm also like listening to what I'm saying because I don't prep as much as I should right now because I'm single.
You're like, I need to take my own advice.
I need to, but I look forward to doing that more. I cooked these mean carrot hot dogs the other day, though.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Oh, they're so good.
See, I love the creativity, man. I love the creativity that's the beautiful part about being a vegan. I used to do this while I did the Facebook post. I traveled a lot. And people were into my travels because they were always interested in where I was going to eat. And I don't go to chain restaurants when I'm on the road. Why do that? So I remember traveling to New Orleans, like, oh, you're not going to find anything vegan in New Orleans.
Yes, you will.
But now New Orleans is an amazing place. Because again, it's good food. It's again, if you pull the meat out of it, you're still making black-eyed pea fritters. I went to this African restaurant, black-eyed pea fritters. I was like, what in a ham sandwich is this? So what's next up for Optimal Wellness Community, man? What should we expect from you all in the near future? And then how can our listeners get in contact with you?
Okay, so you can definitely expect restorative health sessions in the Baltimore area starting off. I'll probably move into DC probably like in the next, month and a half or so, maybe 2 months. It just depends. And I've been doing, I have an outdoor session that's actually planned for today. God willing, it clears up. It looks like it might maybe clear up. So, I can still have my session. So the sessions are usually like an hour and a half long.
And what happens in the session? Walk us through the session.
Okay, so you come into the session, and we have the plant-based potluck starting off. So everybody's kind of just eating, congregating for the first like 20 minutes. Then we go into icebreakers. We do icebreaking activities so people can feel comfortable, open up, and get ready to, kind of be in a vulnerable place to share. Because, with the session, it's a lot of discussion and it's a lot of us learning off of each other instead of me just being at the head of the class, like the master teacher, and everybody listens, So I believe in kind of shifting the paradigm to a more, a more circular female energy. I don't know if you're big on the, this is the masculine, this is the feminine,
Yes,
in many aspects.
I just interviewed a guy named Bill Hartwell, who's an amazing teacher, leader, and he sort of broke down what that actually meant from a male's perspective. I thought it was very unique to hear it from a male's perspective, but yes, I'm very clear.
I mean, if from a male's perspective, for me, it means equality amongst all parts, because the circle is evenly distributed from the center, so there's no one above the other. So everybody's opinion matters. So I do a presentation where I'll present like some information, and then I'll do some questioning and pull experience out from people, and give them the opportunity to supplement, the comments that I said. Then so we'll do that. We'll learn from that from each other. Then afterwards, we do what's called a creative expressions. So we'll do like a little jam session, most of the time based off of what we were talking about. I'm a musician. I play the djembe. I play the acoustic guitar as well. My artist name is Victor Freeman. So I'm out there as Victor Freeman. And then afterwards, we do a little commercial. So, we're always about patronizing people in our community and knowing what it is that they do. So we'll give a spotlight on one person every time, whether it be they sell, whatever lotion, they sell art, and then we kind of know what it is that they do and patronize them for such. And that's usually how it flows. I also do what's called Fitting Fitness. I've yet to start that in Baltimore, but I'm about to soon, where we do different fitness adventures. So we may be hiking one day, kayaking the next, but we're going to do it as a community. We're going to mobilize as a community.
Wow. I'm loving all of that, man. How can our listeners get in contact with you if they want to participate?
Yes, sir.
Are you doing anything virtual? Because I know, some people are concerned about being out in spaces, or is everything right now?
No, I have virtual. I just because of that being a possibility, I've made a commitment to doing at least one virtual session a month. So that's how I'm gonna do it. But you can get in contact with me on Facebook. It's Optimal Wellness Community. On Instagram, it's Optimal Wellness Com, COM. You can also email me at optimalwellnesscommunity@gmail.com. That's cool. And there's also is that it? So many different social media ways. My website also, www.optimalwellnesscom.com.
He is all over the place, and we're going to leave his information in the notes. He is a Morehouse, the house. He is a Morehouse man. So we're excited about. I told you, listen, if you were trying to get your health and wellness together, this is the time. Victor, before you leave, we have to participate in my favorite part of the show. It's called the Super Bomb Questions. These are questions that my listeners want to know a little bit more about you.
Bomb questions.
So the healing questions. So you ready? All right. So here we go. Victor, what's your favorite word?
Oh, my favorite word. I don't even use it that much, but I really like this word. Serendipitous.
Serendipitous. Good word. Good choice.
Yes.
What's your favorite quote, scripture, Bible verse, favorite quote? Favorite hip hop lyric?
I actually have one of each. So I think the hip hop verse is, if every ninja in your clique is rich, your clique is rugged, nobody will fall because everyone will be each other's crutches. Right? So I like that one, and that's kind of Ubuntu. I can actually like follow the same theme.
The principles of Ubuntu, yeah.
Yeah, principles of Ubuntu. One is by yourself you go faster, together you go further.
Love it. What's your superpower?
There's just so many. I think my superpower is maybe I shouldn't expose this, but I'm a charmer.
Charmer, there we go.
I am a charmer.
Man, you went to Morehouse, brother. They teach you all of that. It's the Morehouse. I tried to get it, but didn't have that college tuition, brother. So I had to get something.
Morehouse Mystique. Yeah.
Morehouse
We got a little bit of sauce.
What's your spirit animal?
Oh, my spirit animal is the hawk. I'd say it is a hawk.
You love the hawk. What brings you to tears of joy?
What brings me to tears of joy? Tears of joy. I think when the underdog like really succeeds, like Rudy. That and just playing with my son because I don't get to spend that much time with him. I hadn't seen him in a long time either, just because of this whole situation. But he was in Aruba, and I was back and forth to Aruba like 9 times.
How old is he?
He's almost 6.
Wow.
He's like 5, a little bit over 5.5. But yeah, just spending time with my son just makes me really, really happy because it's something I don't get to do that much.
What brings you to tears of sorrow?
Oh, tears of sorrow. Just seeing people treated just unfairly, with no grounds, like I guess like a lack of humanity, Just seeing people being cruel to other people for no reason, no real grounds, and and I just think that there's no place for that, and I just think us as humans can do so much better, and just I think, and also just like not holding, well, just in that space, but this it just I don't like seeing people not hold other people accountable for their atrocities, Man, check your people. Check your people.
What is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've ever made?
Oh man. That's the most worthwhile investments. Maybe Morehouse. I think we can go ahead along with that same thing. Morehouse. That was one of the best. I met a lot.
That tuition was enough. But I remember that. That's the one thing I remember. You talking about an investment. That tuition was nothing to play with. I remember when I applied, my mother was like, "Is this a mortgage?" Final question, man. What's your morning routine? Walk us through your morning routine outside of the biological stuff. What's your morning routine look like? Because I believe when you win the morning, you win the day.
Absolutely. So I wake up, I meditate for about like 20 minutes. And then I'll go outside and I'll do a workout stretch routine. Then I'll come back in, shower. Then I do some kind of breakfast. Usually I'll do breakfast. Sometimes I won't. But usually I do like breakfast, which looks like, some cereal with some oat milk or some or a smoothie with some spirulina, or and definitely drink some water too. I'll probably drink a good bit of water just to get my body properly rolling. Then I'm pretty much I'm kind of ready to work then.
Well, man, Victor, I want to thank you for joining me. Victor Ferguson, the founder of Optimal Wellness Community. This brother is amazing. Go and check out everything he's doing. Sign up for his seminars. Sit in with him. If you can't come physically to the East Coast, definitely go virtual. Yeah. Victor, I want to just thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to talk to, man. Thanks for joining me.
You as well, brother. Appreciate you. And I look forward to linking offline too, Oh
no, we're going to make the connection. My mind is already racing. My producer, I'm looking at you like, I know you all are going to connect. So we got some things up.
Okay.
And I also want to thank my super duper producer, my Haitian brother, Alexander Blanc, my engineer, Alexander Block, my super duper producer, Nicole Klimpaka, all of you for listening. Thanks you for tuning in. Share me with all of your friends. Stop being stingy. We're on every platform. If you want to pick up some of our Ubuntu shirts or our other shirts, and you want to know more about me, check it out. Go to drlds.com. As always, do something for someone other than yourself today. You've been listening to Sound Bombing. Peace.